Nick?
Hi.
How'd you feel now?
Good. I'm over this flu, which is great.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got something. Yeah, I did too. I don't know what it was. It only lasted a day or two. My ear was really hurting. Like, I'm an adult with an ear infection, like a little baby. But it went away.
Ours started with our youngest throwing up all night. And,
fun. Good times.
And then cough and runny nose, and then the rest of us, except for our teenager, got it.
Because he stays in his room all the time, so he's not...
Yeah, pretty much, and he doesn't have anything to do with us. So
right, exactly. Smart kid. He's actually really smart if you think about it.
See? All those years, I'm just prepping for the plague, man.
Exactly. The shut-in has its advantages.
Yeah, but we did do the tests, and it was not... Although it felt remarkably like when we had COVID back in January,
sure,
the test said no. So
the test said nay.
Yes.
Yeah, Heather lost her sense of smell and taste again, and then it kind of came back. The taste came back a little, which is a bummer because I made some killer brownies that she couldn't taste. And I had like an ear infection, like I said, or something, and apparently I have not to be gross, but I have an intense amount of earwax.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. We have a little camera that you can shove in your ear and see things for some reason. I don't know why. The first one we had broke, so naturally another one, Amazon just magically appeared with another one. It was so...
Oh, there you go.
Such a great use of
of
fossil fuels to bring us a fucking ear camera. But.
The killer brownies just reminds me... brownies always remind me of...
they were good.
Cheech and Chong Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Where he's like, Mrs. Claus, she made the best brownies. You could almost eat one. It was,
almost, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'd take a brownie from Cheech or Chong, man, or from Willie Nelson or Snoop Dogg or probably Seth Rogen even, but anybody. Like, no, sorry.
I don't have that kind of fortitude.
I don't. If I want to fucking feel weird. I had I think my worst experience with cannabis was a pot cookie like a long time ago because I'm like, oh, this is just a cookie. How bad can it be?
Yeah,
it was pretty bad.
It's just one little cookie. It'll be fine.
It was a big cookie too, and so I didn't put two and two together, which apparently is something that you're supposed to do, math, and then.
Oh yeah, they told us that would come into play when we were in school.
Shit happened, but it didn't put me off cannabis. It just was
It's not in cookies.
Well, I would put it in food actually. If I had enough of it, I would, but just to try it out. But no, this was in high school, so I was like, I'll be fine.
Yeah,
I'll just turn to booze. What could possibly go wrong there?
What's the worst that could happen? I'll sober up with some vodka. It'll be fine.
With some coffee.
Yeah,
like that thing.
Yeah,
You can if you drink a lot, you can just have coffee and you'll be fine, right?
Yes, that's totally true.
You need coffee and Taco Bell or whatever your equivalent is.
Yes. I think Taco Bell's everywhere. So,
although we never it's funny. I never had Taco Bell growing up because we had like a great Mexican shack like on every block. Literally, I mean, people joke about the taco stand on every corner, but when I was growing up in my hometown, there was a taco shack basically on every corner almost, because it was that close to Mexico. It's only 30 miles from the border, and so we would always have great Mexican food, and it never would have occurred to me to go to Taco Bell. But then when I left and went to college, that wasn't the case. So then Taco Bell was the thing, and plus it's open till, as you know, 4 or 5 or 24 hours, depending on
where you are. Yeah. So here, I remember Taco Bell when I was a kid, and while there is quite a few Taco Bells out here, there's a couple local chains that are, in my opinion, better. There's Taco Time, which has been here forever in the Pacific Northwest and is quite
that
good.
One, yeah.
And there's also Del Taco, which is really good too.
Oh yeah, I think that's a West Coast thing because we had Del Taco. I would prefer, when I started going to shitty taco places, Del Taco was where I used to go, and then when I went to college, there wasn't a Del Taco, so I was like, okay, Taco Bell. And then when I lived in Los Angeles, in LA. There was a Taco Bell like 4 blocks from my house, so it was, hey, I'll just swing through here on the way home. Too convenient. And there was always a line, even at 3 a.m., It's just always a line.
With the advent of food trucks, though, there's some amazing taco trucks. Yeah, but definitely. I gotta say, though, nothing beats making them at home.
No, I enjoy making things at home. Although there are several moments in my food life where I recall like thinking, wow, that is amazing. Because when Kogi, you've heard of Kogi truck, Kogi barbecue.
Yeah.
When that was first starting, there was one truck. Roy had one truck, and it was like one thing. And so I remember going there like the first month, maybe or 2 months it started, and I was like, wow, I never would have thought of using kimchi in a taco, but man, it is amazing. And so now I like making kimchi. Go figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of that. But yeah, there are so many amazing things, and that's where you're going to find, the other thing I learned is you go where all the people, like, I don't want to say natives, that's like a weird word slander thing. I don't want to slander people, but you go where the locals are eating instead of if you see a big line of people, then you know it's probably pretty good. So,
oh yeah. I mean, that was kind of a side story to that. There was a place, Asian or Chinese restaurant in downtown Portland in Chinatown that was the only one that was open late at night. So after you left a bar, you'd go there, but you knew it was the place to go because all the cooks from the other Chinese places went there to eat after hours.
Nice, yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's definitely the place to go. Although the famous place to go in Portland for Chinese food, though it closed a long time ago, but they left the sign up, was a place called Hung Far Lo. Yeah, that was it was like cheap Chinese food, but it was like, especially late at night, it was like the best thing ever. It was so good.
Cool. All that good MSG.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you. Like when we went to see my mother-in-law in Arizona quite a number of years ago, and driving around, my wife was like, why are these like kind of like brick buildings set off in the middle of, off the street or set off somewhere, and there's like these lines? I'm like, those are taco places. And she's like, no way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And those are the ones to go to because do you see the line? And we finally went to one, and she's like, yeah, I don't know. She's always one that's skeptical of food trucks and stuff like that. She's like, I don't know about this.
She likes cleanliness and not getting botulism or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm going to order a bunch and I'll eat it all. Don't worry. And she took a couple bites of a burrito and a taco I had. She's like, all right, that's actually pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, see? So,
I mean, I've been to some divey places in like downtown LA and whatever back when I lived in California. And we were like, it'll be the greatest meal ever, or we're going to die of
right.
coming out of both ends.
Right, exactly.
I've never gotten sick at any of those places, but the one place I ever got sick was at Taco Bell. Go figure.
Right. Yeah. It's always the chain restaurants that I've gotten, or the ones that are quote unquote legitimate restaurants that I've gotten sick at,
Yeah. I mean, I used to eat in Mexico. We'd go to Mexico all the time, and I'd eat off the street, or we'd eat in some divey restaurants, or we'd go to some place in Puerto Vallarta. I mean, not Puerto Vallarta, but in Rosarito or someplace, and I never got sick one time. Never, ever.
Just don't drink the water.
I've drank the water before.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I guess.
I think that's a horrible racist myth, but whatever.
It is. I think. Well, I think it was a factor maybe back in the day, but I must just be used to it or something. Because I mean, I drank the water in India too. You're not supposed to do that either. But,
right.
It has different microbes, and I do know some people who got sick when we were in India. Like one guy was working there, and he knew he was going to be there for like 6 months, and he didn't want to be super careful, so he just got sick when he first got there. He's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to drink the water now and get
it over with. Yeah.
Get it over with, yeah. And then once you're used to it, you're fine. And I drank it, and and it was fine. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a person who gets those kind of problems, or I've got a parasite growing inside of me to this day.
Could be. Maybe it's controlling you. Chris Ulrich
it could be.
Was gone a long time ago, and you're now the parasite. Yeah.
It's like a pod in my basement, if I had a basement.
If I had a basement, yes. I'm digging one now, though.
I'm digging one now. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I've never had a problem. It's funny. I guess I've just been lucky. I've traveled all over the place, and I've never gotten sick. I don't think one time.
I kind of look at the dive places and stuff like you're going over to a friend's house to eat, because I mean, on the one hand, I would admit that, I mean, there was a place in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It was this burger place, another place that was open like 24 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
It had the best burgers and best fries. and they constantly had like a B or C rating, and they proudly displayed it. And it was just like, I don't know. It's I guess I naively assume if a place was making everyone consistently sick, it'd get shut down, right? And you don't want to do that because you
people
want
would
to stay
know
in
about
business.
it. Yeah, especially in the internet. I mean, you can get knocked down a grade for like a refrigerator that's not at the right temperature. I mean, there's very
Exactly.
there's
or if you don't have the right space between certain things.
or if you didn't clean out the grease trap, or if you know if you don't instant hot water in your sink, or I mean, a lot of things can happen that don't involve cleanliness. Or someone left a pack of cigarettes on the whatever. I don't know.
Right.
That was from an episode of The Bear. Actually, sorry, I stole that. Which is a show you need to watch.
I know. I still haven't watched it, and I've
so good.
been meaning to.
It's so good. It's funny. I'm thinking about anytime I got food poisoning, and I'm pretty sure it was all at regular restaurants.
Yeah, me too. There's this Indian place. I won't mention it, but it's they have several places here locally. Fantastic food, and they have buffets. Frequently, their dinner they don't have a buffet, but they have a lunch buffet that's out of this world. And we went there one time, and I was like, it's the worst case of food poisoning I've ever had in my entire life. I thought I was going to die. Yeah. And I haven't been back since. And I'm sure it was, I say this, I said, it's probably just a one-off thing. But, taking to the internets, there were like, especially around that time, there were a lot of people that were like, yeah, I got sick from there.
If it's Indian, they're probably using a lot of cream. They're probably using, stuff that's not refrigerated properly, or, whatever. A lot of times it's also like people don't wash their hands.
Well, there's people taking pictures from the buffet of the chicken dishes, and the chicken wasn't fully cooked and all this kind of stuff. And
that could be
yeah.
Salmonella is a thing.
Yeah. So
165 degrees, goddammit. That's what it's
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. I would, I'll just say I really liked watching many of Anthony Bourdain's shows, because especially the ones where he'd go off somewhere in the middle of nowhere and have this feast. I'm like, I would totally do that.
He's a guy who I admire, but also I would never eat as much shellfish as he does.
No.
I'm not a fan of shellfish. I would never like crack open a thing and just eat it. I don't know. He's gotten sick a couple of times. I mean, obviously he's not alive anymore, but he got sick a few times, but not that many times. Strangely enough, compared to how many times he could have been, I'm sure. But
I've always been the person when I traveled, especially.
Yeah, definitely.
Is I'm not going to eat. That was kind of my rule when I traveled for business, or I do research ahead of time, or travel with friends. It's like, we're not going to eat at any chain places. We're just going to eat local places.
What is the specialty of this city, or what is the specialty of these people?
And you ask people, hey, if you're from here, where do you go to eat? Right? That's the place I want to go.
Yeah, when we were in India, we went to a restaurant with a guy who was our driver. He took us to his cousin's place, which I was like, oh, this is sketchy because we're going to be kidnapped or something. But we didn't get kidnapped, it turns out. And that was just me saying, they told me so many stories about, Westerners always have trouble in this town or whatever they're going to get. And we had no trouble whatsoever. It was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know why they were trying to scare people, but the food was amazing. Oh my God, it was so good. And I was like, this is the best, I don't want to say the best Indian food, because it was, not Indian food because it's in India, but it was the best food one of the best meals I've ever had.
Yeah.
In my life. And it was amazing. Yeah. So
many years ago, I went to Detroit because we had an office there, and I had a person that I hired there. So I went to hang out with him and get him trained up and all this kind of stuff. And he's from Ethiopia. And he took me to this Ethiopian restaurant for dinner. It was somebody he knew, and it was like way out of town in this like strip mall. And much like what you just said, it's hands down probably in the top 3 meals I've ever had in my entire life. And because he's like, do you want to, he was asking me questions. He's like, do you want to go completely traditional, and what kind of things do you like? And I'm like, I'm leaving this in your hands. I want to be as traditional as we can and sample as much stuff. And it was just, I still think about it, and it was just amazing. It was an amazing meal. And, I'll probably never go there again because I'll never be in Detroit again. But, it's those kind of places that I want to eat at. And I guess I'm a foodie, but...
you're never going to go to Motor City? I can't.
Probably not. Well, I say that, and who knows? I mean, I never thought I would have ever gone there before, but,
Yeah, I mean, technically, I'm supposed to return to India. I probably told you this story, but my when we were there, the director that was directing the film that I was producing, we went to this place, and he said the guy's like, "Well, if you sit on this ancient bench and whatever, this means you'll return to India someday." And so we got a picture on the bench, of course, as we do, and we haven't gone back since. So I don't know, but apparently I'm supposed to go back someday. I
Well,
guess
maybe you will. Who knows?
maybe I will. That's right. Anyway, I think I was probably more adventurous back then. I'm not sure that I would take as many chances now, though. I don't know why. Probably because I have
Yeah.
responsibilities now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But back then I was like, "Fuck, yeah, I'll eat that. Give it to me. Let's crack that open and see what it is.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's not even cooked. Yeah,
I mean, definitely in the age of, it's easier, I think, in the age of internet because, on various social media, I know people all over the country, all over the world. So it's easy to go, hey, friends, I'm traveling here. Where's the places, the local places, and the great places to eat? And you get some good recommendations. So it's much easier now instead of, having to wander around. Although, back before the internet was very prevalent and everyone had access to it to a certain extent. I went on a business trip, and the folks that I was with, that was kind of our mandate. It's like we're gonna wander around and find the places to eat. We're not going to eat at any chain places. And had some. This is in Boston, and we found some fantastic meals. So
I will say that when I was in Paris, we had been in Europe for a while, and I was like, fuck it, let's just go to McDonald's for one day. I don't know. I was like, I just want a cheeseburger, like a regular, because we've been like sampling the local fare everywhere, and French food is very rich and everything, and we've been going to a lot of like nice places, nice-ish, and eating a lot. And I'm like, let's just go, go to a McDonald's or whatever and get a cheeseburger and walk down the Champs-Élysées and look at the Seine River and just hang out.
with a McDonald's cheeseburger.
We got our cheeseburger. Yeah, we got our cheeseburgers. We're just walking down like fucking Americans. They were just staring at us going, what
they're like, oh, man, shaking their heads. Like,
mon Dieu.
Wow, you just identified yourself right there. God.
It wasn't that hard. You can always tell by the shoes, apparently. Because Americans wear sneakers all the time, right?
Oh, well, I don't. But okay.
Oh, I do. Actually, I've been wearing a lot of Crocs, and I was gratified to see when I went out yesterday. A lot of other people have adopted the Croc as well. It turns out. So there you go. Even this one guy at the QT, which is our little mini mart where the gas station that we went to. We go there after school on Fridays because Max wants a snack or something. So I let him get ice cream. He got mint chocolate chip ice cream yesterday. But anyway. There was a guy even wearing camouflage Crocs. So I'm like, yeah, man.
Wow,
so,
nice.
Right on, bro. Well, we were talking about food, though. When I first moved here, a friend of mine was kind enough to take me to barbecue, which is something you do here. That was an amazing meal. But I will say I've gone to what are considered the top, like one of 3 or 4 of the top 10 barbecue places in Texas, basically, and they've all been amazing. The brisket's all been really good. Some of them have been not as good as you would think. Franklin was really good, but there's another place that I still want to go to up near Fort Worth, which apparently is the best one in the entire state, which I haven't made it to yet. But they're only open 3 days a week. So
I was in Boston for a week for work, and there was a lot of the folks I was with in IT. We went and ate at several places on 6th Street. But I remember the salespeople, and this is an important PSA for all of you. If a group of salespeople want you to go out with them, don't do it because you will get probably the drunkest you've ever been in your life. But
they have expense accounts, so they can pay for it.
Right. So if you're into getting pass out drunk for free, then go out with the salespeople. But they were like, hey, you guys got to come out to dinner with us. We're going to get barbecue. And I was like, I'm totally in. And we went to, I don't know what the name of it was, but it was this place. And it looked like it was just kind of like this kind of shack kind of place. But they had they put us up because there was a ton of us in the back area where they had line dancing. So there's like sawdust on the floor. And the tables, and they served, so they brought around like baskets of bread ahead of time, but it was all like Wonder Bread and white bread. So some of the people are like, I don't know about this. And I'm like, just wait. And it was just, they brought out like platters of stuff that we could all just get from, since there was a big group. And it was just like everything was brisket and pulled pork and all kinds of stuff, and it was just like it was a pretty amazing. So, and I'm like, hey, I grew up around Carolina barbecue, and I'm telling you, this is pretty amazing. So,
Yeah, some of the best places are just like cheesy ass,
yeah,
whatever you call it, the holes in the wall, and those are always, it turns out, some of the best places. So
yeah,
anyway, don't be put off by, I mean, if the place, like Anthony Bourdain always says, look at the restroom, right?
yep,
If
absolutely.
the restroom is dirty, then God knows what the kitchen looks like.
Exactly, exactly.
Because if they're okay with the public areas looking like shit, then God, they're not going to care about the kitchen probably.
This is our new food podcast.
Seriously,
I'd be okay with that though. So,
yeah. Well, we can talk about food all week. Anyway, the place is called, that I was talking about, the best one in Texas is called Goldie's
Goldie's
Barbecue in Fort Worth. Anyway,
all right.
so all these guys who knew each other. I saw a little documentary about them too the other day. It was interesting. They all went to elementary school together. They all grew up together, and they worked at various barbecue places. And then one day they just said, you know what, we should just open our own place. And now they're apparently the number one barbecue. They only opened in 2020, but they're the number one place in all of Texas. So
That's pretty good for only 2 years, and they beat everybody. So
yeah, during COVID especially. And then number two is in Austin, Interstellar Barbecue, which I've never heard of, but I'm gonna have to go now.
I would go on that name alone, I think.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, Franklin all the way is all the way down at number 6, which is surprising.
Wow.
I mean, or he's number 7. I mean, I think
But still,
Aaron Franklin's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not gonna. I don't think he's having a problem. I still remember when I first came here to visit. My friend David drove me by Franklin, and I was like, "People are lining up." He's like, "Yeah, it's pretty good," but there was people lined up down the street just to get in, and they sell out in like 2 hours, and then they don't have any more, and people are like, all upset. So
That's like the best pizza place here in Portland is called a Pizza Shoals. And they kind of have the same thing. It's like we'll serve pizzas until we run out of dough for the day, and then we're done. So that's like we open at 5 and we go until we're out of dough, and they're usually done in a couple hours. And they don't take reservations, so you show up as early as you can and get on the list, and they always have a line, but their pizza is just like unbelievably good, and they're also like you can only get. We have a pretty fixed menu, and it's only like no more than like 2 toppings on a pizza. Not counting sauce and cheese, but it's like no, you got to taste everything because they make their dough, sauce. I think they even make their own cheese, their own mozzarella. Yeah. So they're like, no, we want you to taste it all, and their pizzas are huge. I mean, we went there just as a family of 4, and we still brought pizza home because the pizza was just huge, but it's amazing, and it's all consistently like rated as the best pizza place in Portland.
they probably have like a wood-fired oven or something, right? So they have one pizza at a time or something, and that's like, I've been to a couple places like that where it's like it's like you got to wait, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, and they mention that too because they're like, part of it may be burnt, but that's how it's part of
supposed to be. Yeah, well, they must have like a brick oven there. Yeah, that's the way. That's what happens in a traditional oven.
Yes.
It doesn't get burned like that, but there's actual flames. It can get burned definitely because the crust will have little bubbles and stuff, right? So probably some of the stuff will get burned. Yeah. Well, the thing I was thinking about the documentary that I watched about Goldie's, the guy was saying that they go through $10,000 a week in beef.
Jeez.
Yeah. But they're, and they also make their own bread too, because like you was talking about, like you just said, they were talking about the bread, like in the white bread, they just give it away. They make their own bread because he said they used to go to barbecue places, they'd see all that bread in the trash because people don't want a loaf of bread,
Right.
So they make their own bread and they give that away instead.
Nice.
Yeah, and people are like, oh, can we get the recipe or can we buy the bread? It's like, no, we just give it away. It's fine. But they go to the trouble, which is one of the reasons they're so popular, I guess. But
and they probably buy specific beef too. They're probably not just like, oh yeah, just give us whatever and we'll make it good.
Well, it's pretty easy to find beef in Texas, I would imagine.
I would think so. I would hope so. I mean,
What amazes me is actually you can buy, because since I'm so into bread right now,
right.
It's totally cool. There's actually a few mills around. There's one like 20 or 30 miles from here, but people grow grain and stuff in Texas too, and you can get the mill to mill it for you, and you can just buy it like fresh, which is kind of interesting. So I want to try it, but I wanted to I don't want to say waste, but I wanted to use commercial, still decent commercial available flour and stuff with my breads. But until I, because that's like twice as expensive before I wasted that on a
Right, until you get your technique down and know what you're doing.
yeah,
and then it's like, okay, now it's time to step up to the big leagues.
Because that actually is where the flavor comes from, right? Especially the whole wheat part of it, the whole wheat part of the flour that you're using, and that's where the flavor comes from. And I'd like to, well, not in so much in sourdough also, but I mean, sourdough has the sourdough taste a little bit. But
Right.
But I want to try it. It's, it's not twice as expensive, but like 5 pounds of King Arthur flour that I use is, $7 or $8, but that's like $15. So it's not like twice as much, but it's close to that. So
yeah, anyway. See, I'm big into that too, because not just for bread eventually, but like for mead, the mead I've been making, I've been as much as possible buying honey from local farms.
Isn't honey pretty expensive right now?
It's very expensive. Yeah. I'm like, wow, I picked a bad time to get back into making mead because it's not cheap.
Because I've been making honey wheat bread too, and I'm like, why is honey so expensive? And they make it literally down the street. I get it from a guy who's got bees like 6 blocks from here, and it's like, why is it so expensive? Dude?
There's been,
I can literally walk down here and get it.
It's odd because not just, I guess, humans. Not that COVID has been hitting bees, but for whatever reason, the last couple of years, I've seen a couple farms that are local that had things on their website in 2020. They're like, yeah, we didn't get enough honey this year. We can't sell any. And so for whatever reason, I think it happened before COVID, there was a period of time where there wasn't a lot of honey being produced. And I don't know if some of them they closed down their farms. I don't know what happened, but it seemed like there was this honey drought for a while. And it's still not like, they're still not getting in a huge, because some of them are like, this such and such honey is going to go on sale this week. You might want to jump in the first day and buy what you want, and even then they're like limited to 2 and stuff like that, and then they're sold out. So it's a supply and demand, I guess, kind of thing. But I found out one of the farms that we went berry picking at, they had these jars of honey from their beehives right there, and it was actually much cheaper than in the store. Obviously, because they didn't have to do all the stuff you do to get it to a store and have that overhead. But I was like, ooh, so I made a couple batches of mead with that, and it's just amazing honey. So, the ultimate goal would be, of course, if I want to put the effort into it, is eventually, if we have a house with land, have my own beehives. But that seems like a lot of work. But I think it would be rewarding.
My friend Dave, that I play D&D with, he has his own bees.
Yeah. So
they all died last year, he said.
So I think maybe that was part of it too, is a lot of them died off. So there wasn't as much honey produced. And so, again, as we know, if things are in short supply, they're more expensive. And sounds like it's taking a while to recover from that. And it's like, that's probably not a good thing with bees dying off. That's
yeah, we need those guys, right?
Yeah. So
I think.
But yeah, I like getting local, fresh ingredients for stuff. It just, I know people are like, oh, you can't really taste it. It's like, yeah, you totally can,
I think you can too.
Yes.
That's why I've been going to farmers markets again to buy local. Like I've been buying local chicken. I've been buying local, beef. Sometimes you don't eat a lot of meat.
We do that. Our grocery store has like where everything's from, and then speaking of fast food and chain places, there's a local chain burger place called Burgerville that's in Washington and Oregon, and like they have signs up all over the place in the restaurant, like everything that they use, from the beef to the bread and ingredients and stuff, are all locally sourced. To each restaurant from whatever area they're in. So it's like, and they make it like when you order. It's one of those make it when you order kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, it's fast food, but it's a little step above that. It's not sitting under a heat lamp, and it's not like frozen patties shipped from hundreds of miles away. So it's like,
right.
Okay, that's a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't have a way to grind it. Although apparently you can do it in a food processor a little bit, but I have a stand mixer that I want to get the grinding attachment for, but I haven't gotten that yet. But maybe for Christmas. But
My teenager's taken a culinary arts class, and he's
nice.
expressed interest in wanting to make sausage at home. And I'm like, that's a pretty involved process, but we can research it, and get local stuff and give it a shot. Because
it's harder than it looks. You got to stuff that sausage pretty, pretty well. Otherwise, it could burst.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, this is fun. I like food. But I don't know why we're just I guess lucky that at these particular farmers markets they have everything local that you could possibly think of. I guess people are. One positive thing about Texas is everyone's sort of self-sufficient in some ways, so everyone that can grow stuff. I really think that the only way to survive though, without eating a bunch of terrible stuff, is that you just grow everything yourself and just Now I want to just have a farm. I think and just have a cow and have
basically.
I don't want to buy because I look at even a bread, a loaf of bread. It's like it's got the stuff that you expect, and then there's like 20 other things. Obviously, some of that is so it can be shelf stable for a long time in the store. But I'm like, I can make this with 3 things, and I don't need to eat all this other shit. So I'm not going to. But
and there's communities and there's farmers markets here in Oregon, and it seems like there's communities and stuff that are getting back to the way it used to be. It's like you have your thing that you grow or make, and you go to the market and you buy the stuff from other people that grow and make the things that you want that you don't. And it's like, geez, that's and wow, it just tastes so much better, and you can make the stuff yourself. I gotta say, it's pretty rewarding making pizza from scratch, including the dough and sauce, and then you eat it and it's like, this just tastes so much better. And
do you have a pizza steel or a stone?
I have a pizza stone.
A stone, okay. I saw. I've been reading different.
I keep calling it a paddle, but it's a pizza peel. I have one of those, but nice. Been using that a lot, and we're kind of eyeing when things go on sale, maybe getting a pizza oven, one of those shelf pizza ovens. Yeah.
It's the uni or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Solo makes one too.
Yeah.
So kind of been eyeing one of those because it's like, that would be cool. Because the recipe I use for dough makes, I break it up into 3, and because we all have various taste in food. So I make one pizza for my wife and I where we put a bunch of the stuff we like on it, and my youngest just likes plain cheese pizza, and our teenager doesn't like pizza at all. But for him, I'll roll it out and put butter on it and a little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic, and he kind of likes that. So it works out that we can all eat. I can make 3 pizzas, and we're all taken care of. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you get the crust really crispy? You definitely need the stone.
I'm still working on that, but yeah, the stone definitely helps with that. I saw a friend of mine. He makes his own, and he goes, roll out the dough. And I'm looking at different techniques to roll out the dough because I haven't quite got it as thin as I want. But he's like, yeah, roll out the dough to what you want, and then throw that on the stone for about 10 minutes. Pull it out, and then put all your toppings on it and put it back in. I was like, ooh. He goes, yeah, I get pretty crispy crust doing that. So I'm working on...
That's interesting.
Yeah, and, I'm using just a very basic recipe for the pizza crust, and it still comes out as pretty thick and kind of bready, but I'm working on it. I mean, it's fun. It's like, my first goal was like, let's see if I can actually make this, and it doesn't turn out to be horrible. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can do the basic thing. Now it's time to play around with it and work on it. So, same thing with sauce, but...
I was reading that the different kinds of things that you use for a stone or a steel, and apparently a steel is better because it retains the heat more, but it doesn't cook the crust quicker than the oven cooks the top. It actually crisps it, but doesn't. I don't know. The heat works slightly differently than a stone does. I guess steel takes longer to heat up, but it retains even heat better or something. Anyway.
The stone works pretty good. About halfway through, I'll rotate it.
Yeah.
Because there's like the back of the stove heats differently, and you can tell it's cooking quicker. So, but it gets pretty crispy, even though it's thick. If I can get it thinner, I think it'll get where I want it to be much better. But it's still like yeah, this works. This is all right. So
Yeah, I mean, my ambition now is just to build a brick oven in the backyard.
well, yeah, I mean that would be cool.
I can make bread. I can
Once
make bread
I
too.
may do that once we buy a house and have a little bit of a backyard and something. I'll build a
Yeah.
brick oven. So yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of different ovens that are not that expensive on Amazon. It looks like.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Uni. That seems to be the one that people like, but I don't know.
It just seems like all the ones I saw, they were like, oh yeah, it's a gas. Well, I'm like,
Yeah, they are gas.
I don't want gas one. I want wood fire. I mean, I guess that takes a lot of work too because you got to use a lot of wood and all that stuff. But I'm like, yeah, it just seems, I don't know, gas seems like it wouldn't taste as great.
I mean, I have a gas hookup outside that's hooked to my barbecue, which doesn't. My barbecue's dead. I don't know what happened to it. So rather than try to fix it, I might just give it away or sell it or something, and then
Yeah.
I think I just want to go back to charcoal again. I don't really like gas that much. So because then the other thing with the charcoal one is I can also use that for smoking too. So
Yeah, we're gonna get
I like to
one of
smoke
those
some brisket.
Traeger smoker grill things. But
Yeah, there you go.
they do run on the one we're gonna get is electric, but it's pellet.
Yeah,
And it's just like, yeah, for smoking, I definitely want pellet. I mean, I've seen some people like, oh, I got a gas smoker, and I'm like, that just doesn't seem like it would.
yeah. My friend Rob,
well.
he's got the pellet one. It's electric. I think it might be the same one you're talking about, but he said it works fine. I just want to use. I mean, it's not ideal, but I'd like to grill more. But I'd like to just because even like the Weber kettle, you just put the coals on the far right, and then you
Yeah.
can smoke on the. It's not that hard, but it's not ideal. I mean, I don't know. If
We're
I'd
in
make
a
it-
small neighborhood with like in a row of houses with a small neighborhood, and we do have. We're gonna get rid of it. We do have a charcoal grill, and it was like, I'm gonna fire that up, and it was like, that's not gonna work too well because it was just like tons of smoke into all the neighborhoods and all the yards and all that. And it was like, oh yeah, and
Yeah, but
neighbors.
it's only gonna smoke for a while, and then
Yeah, but it was just like, yeah, no. And everybody else has got a gas grill, and I'm like, I'm not going to get a gas grill, but we'll do the pellet smoker because I've got this small cabinet style electric smoker with pellets, and it works really well, but I just can't. You can't work with it too well. I mean, it's almost like once you put stuff in there, then you got to wait till it's done. It's very small, so the Traeger one is like got the top flips open, and it'll be a lot easier to work with. So
cool.
yeah.
Well, we'll see what we come up with, and we can
We'll keep comparing notes.
see what we can do. You can send me some meat too if you want. I wouldn't stop you.
Yeah, absolutely. If I can figure out a good way to ship it without it, I'd like it to get to you intact and not. Well, ooh, this box looks kind of wet.
Awkward. Yeah, it'd probably be hard to ship, so that's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But one day when you visit, or I come out there,
There you go. Well, hopefully I can send you some sourdough, maybe.
there we go.
Although I don't know how good it would be after a few days. I don't know. Probably be fine.
Yeah, be all right.
Anyway, all right. Well,
We should do a podcast now that we've
that was-
done one.
that was fun.
Yeah.
I guess we should talk about nerdy stuff now. Although this is pretty nerdy, by the way.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we could-
Nerds love gadgets
yes, and food. So
and food. Well, you got to eat, even if you're in your mom's basement.
Right,
That's
right.
that's a terrible thing to say.
wow.